over the next couple of days, you'll probably hear a lot about how to make better design, how to execute better, how to consider your clients or the end user when you're doing what you have to do. And I'd like to add another item to the list to consider as you sit here for the next 2 days, which is how can you help the human race? How can you help the human race, the human species, progress? I'm not joking either. This is something I think we all have to be aware of. At the end of the day, the human animal is a social animal. And our very survival depends on our ability to form communities, to form cultures. What's a community? What's a culture? It's a group of people with a common set of values and beliefs, right? What's a country? It's a group of people with a common set of values and beliefs. What's a company? It should be a group of people with a common set of values and beliefs. When we're surrounded by people who believe what we believe, something remarkable happens. Trust emerges. And make no mistake of it, trust is a feeling, a distinctly human feeling. You know, we all have friends who are total screw-ups, and yet we still trust them, right? Trust is not a checklist. Simply doing everything you say you're going to do does not mean people will inherently trust you. It just means you're reliable. We need trust, right? We need trust. When we're surrounded by people who believe what we believe and trust starts to emerge, when we trust them and they trust us, we're more willing to take risks. We're more willing to experiment, which requires failure. We're more willing to explore and go somewhere that no one has ever gone before with the confidence that if we fail, if we trip over, if we turn our backs, that those within our community, those who we trust and who trust us, will look after us while we're gone, will pick us up when we fall over, will help us when we're hurt. Our very survival depends on it. We're not good at everything. We're not good by ourselves. You know, if I send you out to go fight a saber-toothed tiger by yourself, odds are tiger 1, you 0. It's not going to go very well. But if you go out as a group, we're pretty damn amazing. And the reason is because we all have our certain strengths and we all have our certain weaknesses. And the goal is not to fix your weaknesses. The goal is to amplify your strengths and surround yourself with the people who can do what you can't do. But it's not just based on skills and application and experience. It's based on what you believe. It's based on what you believe. You see, simply being good at something and having somebody else being good at what you're no good at does not mean you will trust each other. Trust. The sense of trust comes from the sense of common values and common beliefs. I can prove it. How many of you are from New York? Okay, a bunch of you. Are you friends with everybody in New York? Why not? Why not? But when you go to Los Angeles and you meet someone from New York, you're like, hey, I'm from New York, and you're best friends. Right? And when you go to France, there you are in the Paris metro minding your own business. And you hear an American accent behind you, and you turn around, and you say, hey, where are you from? They say, Los Angeles. You're like, hey, I'm from New York. And you're best friends. Because when you're surrounded by people who don't believe what you believe, when you're in a strange environment where you don't feel comfortable, you look for anyone who may share some of the same values and beliefs that you have, and you start to form a very real and very intense bond with them, simply because you know that they have a basic understanding of how you grew up, of the things that you care about, of the life that you live back home. Well, the same is true when we go to work. Do we want to go to work with people who understand us, who believe what we believe, who have a similar view of the world that has nothing to do with their opinions and the differences that we share? That's good. That's called diversity. That's called advantages to problem solving, which is we can all look at the same thing from a different angle and come up with solutions. What I'm talking about is why should you help each other in the first place? What are you in pursuit of? Now, the question is what creates that sense of values and beliefs? What creates that sense of trust? Right? Our very human instinct. We know how to find people who believe what we believe. Our survival depends on it. We're biologically gifted with this idea. If I ask you to go out in the street and find all the people who believe what you believe, you know exactly what to do. You're going to strike up conversations. You're going to start talking to people. And either you'll have a good feeling about them or you won't. Either you'll have chemistry, whatever that means, or you don't. Sometimes it's quick, sometimes it's slow. But we know how to do it. It's called making friends. It's called dating. It's called networking. We have the innate ability to do it. The problem is it's not scalable. The problem is you're the only one who had that gut feeling. But if you know the symbols to look for, if you know how to see the things that people are doing and saying, that you can find them. If I tell you to go out on the street and find all the people wearing red hats, it's easy. There's one, there's one, there's one, there's one, there's one. They're easy to spot simply because they have a symbol. They have something that they're giving off that says something about who they are and what they believe. When you were standing on that Paris metro, that American accent that you heard was a symbol. It was a sign. You don't know these people, and yet you trust them. They will say to you, you guys have to go to this restaurant. And you'll go, okay, and you'll go to that restaurant because they told you to. Now, what if you were walking down the street and some stranger just says, hey, you got to go to this restaurant? You'd be like, crackpot, right? You're going to ignore them. This is what trust does. This is why we don't research everything. We don't need access to all information. Let's say you want to go buy a new television, right? So you do all your research, consumer reports, look it all up, right? I know what I'm going to buy. I know what I'm going to do. I'm getting the LG. It's the best on the market. Can't wait to get it, right? So that's what you've decided to do this weekend. That Friday night, you go over to a friend's house, your friend, the gadget guy, the guy who has the first of everything, right? And you go to his house and you can't wait to show off and share with him what you're going to do with all your research. And you say, I'm getting the new LG. And he says, nah, man, get the Sony. It's so much better. In that one instant, either he's completely turned all of your research on its head, and you're going to have to go back and do all the research again. Is he right? Should I trust him? Should I believe him? Or you just bought a Sony. All that marketing, all that research, out the tubes, down the drain. It doesn't matter. Because the person that you trust, the person from within your community, told you that you should get the Sony. And you trust him. He knows more than you. He must be right. I trust him. I don't have to know everything. Again, you're walking down the street. You accidentally bump shoulders with somebody, and they say, where are you going? You say, oh, I'm going to Best Buy to get the new LG. They go, don't get the new LG. I know everything about this stuff. Get the Sony. Crackpot. Right? You're going to ignore the person. We don't trust everyone. We trust people from within our community. But you have to know what to look for. Just as I said before, when you find the people with the red hats, every single piece of communication we make, every decision we make in our lives is a piece of communication. Every decision we make in our lives as individuals or as organizations is a piece of communication. It's our way of saying something about who we are and what we believe. This is why authenticity matters. This is why you have to say and do the things you actually believe. Because the things you say and do are symbols of who you are. And we look for those symbols so we can find people who believe what we believe. Our very survival depends on it. So if you're putting out false symbols, you will attract people to those symbols, but you won't be able to form trust with them.